ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz, and on today's episode in the news, we're getting a Baba Yaga prequel series on Peacock. John Wick on Peacock. We'll get to that in the news. No trailer talk this week. The newest streaming list is kind of lame, but hey, guys, She-Hulk is here, so I know you're all very excited for that, of course. Right, Blake?
Absolutely not.
Okay. We'll get to what we're watching. And then our main review for the episode is Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. But before we get to any of that, I'm joined today, of course, by Nathaniel Gingrich.
What up, folks?
Uninvited Nathaniel.
I wasn't invited. I just showed up.
Yep.
You came to my house, so that would make sense.
Yeah, I ate your pizza.
Yeah.
And you're the one who's uninvited. Waz invited me over. Actually.
Makes sense. Yeah, well, he is always trying to, undermine me.
He really is. Yeah. He plays your friend. He plays your buddy. Yeah. But in reality, he's your arch nemesis.
Drama here at Back Row HQ, folks. Anyways, but no, yeah. I'm uninvited, but I'm here anyway, so deal with it, folks.
The way Ellie, Waz's new dog, the way Ellie reacted when I walked in made me think I was uninvited.
You were definitely uninvited, yeah.
I'd never, apparently even you hadn't even heard her bark that loud.
No, that was out of character for her. But I think, like we said, it was like I don't think she noticed.
Lights were all off.
Yeah, I don't think she noticed I left either because she was distracted by her father. And then I came back with a person dressed entirely in black, and she did not know what to make of it for a few seconds. So.
Yeah, so she barked a little bit, and I was like, "What are you doing? I've known you since you were a wee lad. You're so wee lad.
Wee lass.
And even we're lass.
Yeah.
And then, I finally, crouched down for her to come over and, sniff me. And then immediately she was like, oh, yeah, I do know who you are.
Dogs.
Yeah, I love you.
Notoriously have, poor night vision.
Sure, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a non-fact that I will say, with a...
You've got a master's degree. I believe it.
A lot of authority, yeah.
Yeah, but you just can leave it at master's degree. We don't have to tell them what it's in.
Oh, yeah. Did I ever tell you about the time that I started working for Anheuser-Busch and they incorrectly said I had an MBA? I think they just read I had a master's and were just like, oh, yeah, MBA, of course. And I was like, nah, completely different than that.
Gosh.
But sure, you can introduce me to the company in a company-wide email blast saying that I have an MBA.
That's so funny.
Anyways.
Also joining us, it's Slumber Party Ty, Tyler Vidalis.
You're all sleeping over.
Are we invited?
Yeah.
Is Nathaniel uninvited?
I guess for the sake of pod, sure, but
reality,
you can go.
No.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate it. Not enough slumber
Is there
parties.
anything worse than showing up uninvited as an adult?
Oh,
that's got to be like bottom three things you can do.
It may be my name, but it may be my name, but I would
Pain.
never do that.
Yeah.
It's just one of those unwritten rules. I think too, as millennials, we have that kind of inbuilt into us as well.
Oh no, I get that too.
Yeah.
I don't want to show up anywhere if I don't know for sure people are cool with me coming.
Fair enough. Yeah.
If it's like I'm going to a friend's place, why don't you just come? It's like, nah, are they cool with me coming?
Yeah, that's a social media thing. Is that just
maybe.
we're not as open to surprises as we used to be?
I don't know.
Yeah, good question.
But also if I invited say a group of 10 people over, and then maybe 2 or 3 extra people came over, I'd be like, but say I got food and was planning on doing stuff.
Yes, that would be annoying.
That's the thing. I think that's where it gets iffy. It's like, oh, I planned on this many people coming.
Sure.
And although I don't mind these extra 2 or 3 people, if I plan on 10.
There's a set amount of food. Yeah,
exactly.
of
if there's set
For
amount of
sure.
food, then I'm panic. Then I'm scared.
It's just more being considerate of
course.
whoever is hosting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. We're generous on social niceties to a fault.
Do you think that's a Midwest thing? I mean, you're from Arizona, so you're at least culturally what you were raised in.
I think that's a young thing.
Yeah.
Or millennial, I guess probably, and I guess Gen Z. But I think just the younger you are, we're trying to be more progressive,
as
a society, and it's we probably shouldn't.
Do the older generations just show up willy nilly?
I feel like, well, it was more like you didn't necessarily know ahead of time, or like say someone was over, you couldn't
true.
like call ahead of time as easily
So
and be like, hey,
sure,
plans
that
have changed. I've
yeah,
got another
gotcha.
person coming over, that kind of thing.
Whereas nowadays with phones and communication
just-
being
it's a
as
text.
quick
Yeah,
as
that's
it
so
is.
easy
Yeah,
just to
that's
send
fair.
a text message and do that.
Yeah,
Right.
which I usually do.
You're
like,
crazy to show up somewhere with extra guests.
Exactly.
And like, dude, all you have to do is
and if I'm the
text them,
person
you
being
know?
invited somewhere, I'm like, hey, can you like, are you like make
Yeah,
sure,
is it cool?
like, double check, like,
Yeah.
is it cool?
Of course.
Yeah, you got it. Like that's
Absolutely.
just courtesy. That's just courtesy. Rounding out the squadron, of course. It's big bodies, bodies, bodies. BlakeHolder.
Yo, what up? What up?
I think that's the most alliteration I'll ever be able to fit.
Bodies, BlakeHolder.
That's 5
So
B's,
how are
man.
we naming this movie? I mean, are we gonna say bodies every time?
Bodies
Are we just
cubed?
gonna say bodies. Are we gonna say bodies cube?
I
Bodies times
don't
3?
mind bodies.
Triple
cube.
B's.
Triple B.
Triple B's.
I think it just one. If for the sake of this pod, if we just say bodies, like I think we'd get it.
Yeah, we figured it out.
Yeah. For future
I vote
reference,
bodies cubed.
I like bodies cubed. We can do that.
Now I'm into the idea of you morphing the bodies universe and the cube universe, where all of the
Yeah, I don't think anyone else gets that besides.
I was gonna say,
besides
what
me
the
and
hell
you.
is the
Tyler
cube
has to.
universe?
Tyler's got to have seen Cube, haven't you?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Like,
what I
why?
thought.
It's been a while.
Cube was like
The MC cube.
no, Cube was a movie. It's a weird
It's got
Canadian
to be
movie.
98 or something like
Yeah,
that.
98 and 2000
Now I
somewhere
gotta-
in there.
Now I gotta look it up.
Yeah.
Cube movie.
But yeah,
It's
in a lot
fucking
of
wild.
ways, people see it as kind of like the precursor to Saw, where it's like
Absolutely.
people wake up in a room, they have to
Oh,
move to
wow.
other rooms, and there's traps in there. But it's also like more sci-fi-y than Saw ever got as well
Okay.
too. But yeah, Cube's fun. We could do Cube at some point. That's a
I'm trying to find the summary. That's not the
that's
user
not full of-
selected.
full of spoilers or something.
6 different people, each from a very different walk of life, awaken to find themselves inside a giant cube with thousands of possible rooms. Each has a skill that becomes clear when they must band together to get out. A cop, a math whiz, a building designer, a doctor. Okay, we get it. Okay, so it's so like an escape room meets Saw kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yep.
sure.
Interesting.
But like again, it was like 2000, so it was like no one had.
1997.
Yeah, no one had.
But there's
ever,
3 of them.
Yeah, and the other ones aren't good. This was back in the day when horror sequels aren't.
Is the
great.
first one good though?
Yeah, the first one's great.
Okay.
First one's good for sure.
Weird
Okay.
Canadian small room movie that like it's not something that's like mind blowing, but like definitely a good indie movie from the 90s.
Okay.
For sure.
I'm there. I'm with it. All right, I have a story for the pod before we get into everything else.
Ooh, tell me your story.
This is a recent story. This happened within 4 hours ago. But I had to share it. So we work at Best Buy, of course. 3 out of 4 of us work at Best Buy. Of course.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And so I'm working today. It's, within the last hour of business, and for some reason it's busy-ish. And so a customer comes up and they go, "Hey, do you have the new Jurassic Park movie on DVD?" And I'm
On
like,
DVD?
On DVD, yeah. And I'm like, I have no idea. And I'm thinking in my head, all right, Jurassic Park came out in less than 2 months ago. 45 days. It may be on a streaming service, but it's a DVD out. And so I'm looking it up on my phone. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if we have it. And then the guy goes, well, it says it came out today. And I was like, okay, well, that's a little passive aggressive. And also, who the hell is tracking when Jurassic World Dominion releases
That's the real
on
question.
DVD?
On DVD.
And so I'm already like, okay. And sure enough, released today. And I'm like, all right, well, yeah, we should have it in the back. Do you want the Blu-ray or do you want the 4K? He goes, 4K. I'm like, of course. And so I run back, and we have, for some reason, 24 copies of this movie.
Oh, so they did want it on 4K.
They want it on 4K. Now, this is where it takes a turn for the worst. I go back in the warehouse, and I grab the DVD, and I see Blake. I'm like, Blake, you're not going to believe this. Look what a customer just asked me for. And I showed him. He just laughs. And I'm like, yeah, I can't believe anyone wants this movie, especially on 4K. Like, at the day it releases, like, whatever. I walk out of the warehouse. First customer I sees what's in my hand. He goes, hey, do you have any more of those?
So this is a different person.
different
right?
customer,
Yeah.
different customer. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Just take this one. I'll go grab another one for the other person. He goes, oh, thanks, man. And so in the span of 30 seconds, I had sold 2 copies of Jurassic World Dominion on launch day.
Did you feel less of a man?
I did. I felt disgusted. I had to take a shower. Well, they don't have showers there. I took a shower in the sink.
You used the emergency shower in the back.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
To wash your eyes out.
Yeah. Well, I wish I did that after I watched that movie. But like, who the hell is waiting for Jurassic World Dominion on 4K Blu-ray? Like,
I'll tell you who's doing that. That whoever did that is in the same family tree as the person who was next to me on a flight to San Diego who turned off Dune to watch Eternals. All those people are related. I can promise you.
And what the sad thing is that is the general viewing public, folks.
it is
for sure. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's because people hear Dune and they're like, well, I don't know if I've ever heard about that. And then they're like, Eternals. Oh, it's Marvel. Well, yeah, I gotta watch that for sure.
Yeah. Because my thought initially for the first customer that asked me for it, the OG one that wanted it, was like, oh, maybe they just love Jurassic Park.
Sure.
And just want to complete their box set.
They're Nathaniel of the world.
Exactly. I was like, oh, okay, like I can get that. But some people just love Jurassic Park. Like maybe they just want to complete their Blu-ray. But what makes me sussed out about that is the fact that's the day it launched. Like, are you that diehard of a fan? Like, they must have really enjoyed this movie to want it the day it came out.
Just
and then
What really upsets me is if you're an actual fan of Jurassic Park, then you're not a fan of that movie.
That's what I'm saying.
Gatekeepery.
But then for another person to not like that, the second customer was not looking for Jurassic Park. He was looking at computer parts. And he sees what's in my hand, and then he got so excited that he wanted to buy that.
Holy shit!
I gotta buy that movie.
Well, maybe hold on.
Like, maybe he never saw it.
Maybe.
And he was just like, you know what? Fuck it.
God.
Maybe.
I hope he never sees it.
Have you considered that this is like a grassroots campaign by obviously the original Jurassic Park lovers who are just trying to single-handedly destroy every copy they come across? They're like, oh, they have some. I'll buy it and get rid of it. No one else has to watch
seems plausible. I'm also not convinced like that wasn't a David Dobrik prank. You know?
Oh, okay,
I was expecting. I was expecting some kind of camera to jump out at me like, "Ha, I gotcha." No one likes this movie. You thought, or like, you shouldn't have sold it because they're wasting their time. You should have told them better, something like that. So I don't know.
So, anyways, that's our thoughts on Jurassic Park Dominion.
Yeah.
Check out our whole
episode. What's that one show?
It.
What would you do? What's that guy's name?
What would you do?
Have you seen that show?
No,
it's like a reality
so.
show where like they put people in awkward social situations and see if they'll stop the person, like, bowling, like a kid's bowling another kid. Does someone step in? And it's like all actors, but it's like someone's being an asshole in public, like, and will the people standing by like intervene?
That's such a fine line.
Yeah, it's one of those.
That's really hard.
It's those reality shows, right? Those are which are becoming more and more common, I suppose. Like
it's actually not a bad show because sometimes I'm like, I don't know if I would interject.
I'm sure it isn't. Yeah. I'm sure it's great. Who's it? Werner Herzog only watches like reality TV now.
He's no, I thought it was wasn't it Tarantino?
Could have been too.
I think it was Tarantino. Yeah. He's like they're the only ones telling original stories or something.
Yeah,
like that. Or like new stories.
Yeah, they're like the only ones that are like recording the human condition at this point.
Yeah, it's one of those two, or maybe both.
Probably both.
Because I think I've heard of more than one director saying that.
Anyways.
Anywho.
John Wick. The series, a.k.a. the Prequel series, has been announced to be moving from Starz to Peacock. No, this has been in development for years now, Blake. It's coming out in 2023. So
this is a TV series?
It's a TV series. It's going to be kind of a prequel series of the Continental, the hotel.
Where are we going as a society, fellas?
Hey, I'm in. Be careful, Blake. I'm in.
So you said this is moving to Peacock?
It's moving from Starz to Peacock. Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
I would get a Peacock subscription for this, similar to.
Oh, you're back. After the Halo.
No, that was Paramount.
Yeah, God, yeah,
that was Paramount.
Other P.
I would only go back to Paramount if they gave me another garbage season of that show, but I will go back. So.
Oh, that's coming. Yeah,
it's coming, and like I said, they landed that garbage, flaming pile of shit pretty well somehow. That last episode was good, and they set it up well for a second season, I think. So we'll see where it goes. Anyway, yeah, this is a prequel series, of course, kind of covering the Continental Hotel. I wish it was like I would love a prequel series or a prequel movie maybe of John Wick where it's like him as the Baba Yaga of legend.
Okay.
Of yore, where it's like him in his prime, and it's like.
Do you think they'd have to get Keanu back for that, or were they?
No, they'd have to go with someone
younger.
way younger. Yeah, because at this point he's pushing 55.
Oh, I think he's at least 55.
Yeah, he's getting up there. And he, you know what? I'm gonna be honest. He's starting to look it because John Wick 1, you're kind of like, oh, okay, he could pass as like. Well, John Wick 1 came out, he was probably a little bit younger, obviously. When was that? 2014.
Yeah, he's probably late 40s.
I mean, that's almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, but he was passable as like, all right, yeah, he could be like late 30s or whatever it is. But like nowadays, you start to see the age on Keanu.
You see him in Bill and Ted's, and you're like,
you see him in Matrix Resurrections, and you're like,
is that what that one was called?
Yeah, wasn't it Resurrection?
I think it was, but yeah.
He's 57. He's 57
years
years
Resurgence.
old.
I could be told. I don't even remember.
It's Resurrections. I'm almost
Resurgence.
I just blocked it out of my.
Dude, I'm almost
mental
positive
capacity.
it's Matrix
Resurrections.
Yeah,
Resurgence was the Independence Day one.
Ah, there it is.
Anyway,
we're waffling early.
Yeah, we would need a Tom Holland or something, you know, to come and play John Wick.
We're gonna dye your hair black.
We're gonna dye your hair black.
We're gonna get. Well, I'm talking to you, Adam Schwartz.
Oh, me?
You're the new John Wick.
I feel like I could do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same height probably. I feel like we have
I'd
the same.
watch that.
I feel like we have the
Just
same
of support
stature
for you.
a little bit. You know,
You need to start
I'm there.
doing jujitsu and adding some guns into it.
I would really need to get on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's way ahead of me in that regard. But I'd catch up. I'm a fast learner.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
My knees might not hold up though. My knees are gone.
Fan casting.
Yeah.
What else we got? We got anything for a trailer talk?
No, that's it. That's it for all the news. Short news week. Not mad about it though.
Oh, is that news already?
That was
Did we
it.
just go into it? All right, fuck
Yeah,
it.
that was it. You thought I was just talking about?
Is Lance Reddick in the prequel? Do we
I
know?
don't think so.
That
Because
that's disappointing.
Because this is set in 1975 New York.
Okay.
It centers on Winston Scott, Colin Woodell, playing a younger version of Ian McShane's character in the movies, who wants to take control of the hotel but must chart a course through New York's underworld to do so. This 3-episode series.
3 episodes.
Okay, so it's a mini series.
I'll bet they'll be like an hour and a half.
So Aamide Aidgan as a young
that's gotta be,
Sharon.
young Lance.
That's
young Lance Reddick.
That is young Lance Reddick. Yep. So we'll see.
Karen, I think is his name. Karen.
Karan.
Yeah, which is the one that ferries people across the river Styx in Greek mythology.
Yes. But yeah, I'm down. I like this. I like this universe. This is one I'm not too mad about. Although I know we shit on franchises and stuff, but like, at least this was a new franchise that then became a series, like a series of films,
like an
Right,
original
and
It was an
idea.
original idea that took off.
Now become a series.
Yeah,
right.
and it's not one that was like rebooted, and
Yes.
it's not that it's one that had room to be expanded, unlike A Quiet Place or something
Right.
like that. So this of all the series and all the franchises nowadays, this is one I'm least mad about because they're also very good. It's not like they're diminishing in quality. I have a hard time picking a favorite from the 3 films. You know, like they're all very good. So
I think for me, it's definitely not the third one. But other than that, like,
see, that's the
I
thing is
agree with-
for
I
me
agree
it's
with Nathaniel.
might not be this. The third one might be my favorite. I don't know. I haven't rewatched them. I haven't watched them in a while. We got to get them on pod. But
well, aren't we?
we got the first one coming.
Bit of sizzle.
Bit of sizzle. We got the first one coming up in a few weeks. But anyway, John Wick. That's 2023. They don't have a set release date, but sometime next year. I'll be checking it out. I'll get Peacock. I'll do it. I'll succumb. Anyway, let's get into the new to streaming list here. This is Adam Schwartz's completely subjective new to streaming list for the week of August 14th through the 20th. If you don't know, there's a lot of things coming to the streaming services each week. This is my hand-selected list for the things that might be worth checking out. Coming to Netflix, it's The Cuphead Show, Season 2.
Really? Season 2's out
Season
already.
2, yeah. Who would have thought? I haven't
watched
seen
like
it.
6 episodes of the original series. It's good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Is it like 30s animation style?
Yeah, it's definitely the same
cool.
animation style from the game. Same kind of
Awesome.
tone, I would say, overall. And definitely, it was fun. It's just, it's hard for me not having played the games.
The games are good. The game's good.
Well, yeah,
Game.
I've heard that. I've seen clips and everything,
Yeah.
but like, it's again one of those things I think where you have an idea of what the character is, and then the TV series is like trying to take that same vein or same style and then translate it over to a series. And I think it was one of those ones that I enjoyed and but just didn't grab me.
Sure.
You know, in the grand scheme of things of all the fucking content that's out there, basically.
Yeah, there's too much.
But in terms of like a good adaptation of a video game, I think it did a really good job with that. So
Sure.
I think most people would probably enjoy it.
I love the game, and I meant to check out the show when it first came out. So maybe I'll get around to this one. We'll see. Amazon Prime is getting RoboCop 2014.
Okay.
You want to take that back? I'll give you
the 2014 one's fine.
Is it? I haven't seen it.
6.5.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
not.
Is it okay?
It's not as bad as it could have been.
Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
I just remember getting shit on.
6.5 out of 10. Have you seen the original?
Yes.
You have seen a RoboCop.
I have seen the original because I think when this one came out, my dad and I did the same thing we did for Total Recall, which was
Watch the original. and
go watch
see
the original one. But in this case, we watched the original one. Never once saw the new one. So I just have seen RoboCop, and I'm fine with that.
RoboCop's incredible.
Yeah. First one's good.
Another Paul Verhoeven.
Well, we've watched one. Yeah, wait.
Starship
that's
Troopers.
Starship Troopers, right. All right. Hulu is getting The Hate You Give. One I haven't seen, but I remember hearing really good things about when it came out. HBO Max is getting Abbott Elementary complete season 1. I've heard really good things about this show.
I have as well, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've watched that. That
have
was
you?
awesome.
Oh, that's right. That's who I've heard from. Okay. You said you liked it?
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll definitely watch season 2 when it rolls around, just for like a late night show to fall asleep to or something like that.
Was
while
that
you're eating
on
lunch?
Was that on Hulu
That's
then
awesome.
originally?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Disney Plus is getting She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, episode 1. That's going to be a week-to-week thing. I don't know how many episodes. If I had to guess, probably 6 again. But
I'm interested. I will come out. I did not like the first trailer. Second trailer that they released at Comic-Con, I'm in.
I need to find a weekend at some point, and I need to finish Obi-Wan, and then binge
Ms. Marvel?
binge Moon Knight, binge Miss Marvel, binge Boba Fett. Now, those are 4 shows. Don't know if I could do that in one weekend, but we're going to try. Or at least maybe knock it down one by one, but yeah. Want to get rid of those, or want to get through those. Anyway, the Disney Plus is also getting Beauty and the Beast sing-along, both the original animated film and the sing-along to the 2017 live-action remake. Isn't that fun?
Heyo.
And then the Tangled sing-along as well. Lots of sing-alongs coming to Disney Plus. Love the variety. Love the options you're given. All right. That's it for the new streaming list. I guess we can move on here to what we're watching. Blake, what have you been watching?
Cool. I'll pull up my Letterboxd here. So I didn't get to a lot this week, to be honest with you. Only a handful of things. I watched Den of Thieves. I watched that. I think that was Thursday. I want to say I watched that. And that was a rewatch. That's one I saw in theaters when it originally came out. I think that was January 2020. Like maybe it was right before COVID. Maybe it was 2019. But just kind of a standard like bank heist movie. Just kind of wanted to put something on. Didn't really feel like rewatching The Town because I think I rewatched that about 10 months ago. I was going to put something else on.
I think.
And
Tyler, is that the one we watched?
which one?
Yeah. Okay, the one with Gerard
Town.
Butler, right? No,
Yeah, Gerard
No,
Butler.
no, I don't think we watched Den of Thieves.
I'm pretty sure we did.
No, we watched The Town.
I think earlier on we watched Den of Thieves.
Well,
Den of
I
Thieves.
don't know if we did. I'll have to think back on that one, but I know for a fact we watched The Town.
I know we
because
did The
scrolled
Town.
past it the other day.
Yeah.
And Leah was like, "You made me watch that." I was like, "I didn't make you do anything."
Great movie though. The Town's
I
awesome.
love The Town, bro.
And even like I said, rewatching Den of Thieves, I was like, this actually isn't that bad.
That's the one with Ice Cube's kid is in that too, right?
Yep. O'Shea.
Yes.
O'Shea
Okay.
Jackson,
Yeah.
I believe
We
his name.
definitely watched that too, Tyler. But it was early on. Blake, you seen that before?
Yeah, I have. So it was a rewatch. First time I've watched it since theaters, though. I caught it in theaters, and honestly, not bad. It's just the suspense holds up at the end. When they kind of get the shootout finally between Gerard Butler and the main antagonist. So that's really all I got to be honest with you. Outside of that was just a ton of YouTube following up podcasts. Oh, I guess I've been watching Hard Knocks on HBO Max.
New season?
So that's the NFL TV show that HBO gets each fall camp. This year it's with the Detroit Lions, but it's really cool. You kind of get an insight into that in terms of like how the fall camp goes, players getting cut, practices. You just kind of see like kind of the nitty gritty of the football world. So yeah, that's something that I always try to tune into every August once it airs. So that's kind of what I'm watching. There was a quick snippet or sneak peek of Atlanta season 4 that comes out next month.
Wow.
So caught the trailer of that. I'll end up watching season 4 when it comes out next month, and that's going to be the end of Atlanta. So I'll keep you guys posted on that.
Damn.
That's going to be the weekend after I binge all those Marvel shows.
Do you feel like Atlanta's ending because everyone in that show is now a bigger star?
Yeah, they're just way too big to continue.
Okay, yeah, I
for
feel
sure.
like
I think that's exactly what it is.
Because
it started in 16.
Yeah, and all 3 of the main characters are now like major movie stars.
Oh,
plus
for sure.
Zazie
Yeah,
Beetz.
I'm absolutely, dude. I'm surprised they've even been able to like film this pass.
Sure.
Season 3 and 4, 4 years later? So they probably started filming that stuff in 2020. And I guess it's just a blessing they were even able to finish that. So yeah, I think after this, they were like, there's no way we can continue making this. We're just too big of actors. So that'll be cool to see how that closes out. But yeah, that's one I'd recommend. I think Nathaniel started it and did you make it to season 2?
No.
Or did you just make it through a few episodes?
Yeah, I definitely made it through a few episodes. I do need to go back because I really liked it. But I don't know. It's also one of those ones I need to be in the mood for. I think we've talked about that for a little bit, but yeah, I will go back at some point. I like Atlanta.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, that's all I had, fellas. Outside of that, like I said, YouTube, and that's about it. Nathaniel?
Yeah, I'll go as well too here. I had a couple different ones. I was out of town for some of this, so I didn't get to as much as probably I usually do. But I got to a few of them, one of which was Moneyball.
Hey,
yeah,
love Moneyball.
All right.
Moneyball's
classic.
Yeah, it's always good. Waz had not seen it before, and we were just kind of sitting, and he brought up something, and he was like, something about Moneyball. Oh, no, he quoted Moneyball. I was like, have you seen that? And he was like, no. And I was like, and he said, never entirely through. I was like, well, let's watch Moneyball then.
That's
so I threw that on. Always just a movie that I could kind of put on any time of year.
You can. There's never a bad time to watch that movie.
Yeah, it's just a genuinely good movie as well too.
Yeah.
Even if I don't think you're a sports fan,
You don't even have to be or a baseball fan.
Yeah, it's pretty accessible.
It actually could make you a baseball fan. I feel like it
Ooh.
makes you appreciate it a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I'd say that.
Like it's such a good story too.
So
Chris Pratt,
Chris Pratt,
fan of the pod, friend of the pod,
friend of the pod, Chris Pratt. Early on in his career, Brad Pitt, obviously.
Yeah, that's Parks and Rec, Chris Pratt.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah, that's the guy from Parks and Rec, Chris Pratt.
He can act.
He can act. Who knew?
I don't think I've ever seen that film, and then I just had to do a quick
love it.
Google search on it to see what it is, and so now I know what that film is.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right, once I looked at it, but I was like, I've never got a chance to take a look at it.
Also, Brad Pitt is slowly
Brad Pitt's awesome.
Brad Pitt's the best.
There's no.
I
way
was never
around it.
that high
Pitt's
on Brad
awesome.
Pitt. I was just like, oh, he's Brad Pitt. But after Bullet Train, I'm like, maybe Brad Pitt is just the shit. Like
He's that famous kind of thing of like he just wants to be a character actor, but he's stuck in a
He's
very
just so
handsome man body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had me at fucking at Troy.
Troy's great.
Did he?
Fight Club's great.
Yeah.
obviously.
I was just all in on Brad Pitt
7.
after Troy.
Yeah. Brad Pitt, hopefully you don't get canceled. Anyways, I also got to a couple episodes of Harley Quinn season 2 on HBO Max, which started recently, I want to say. So yeah, that's great. Love that series. If you haven't seen it yet, if you watched any of the original Batman animated run from the 90s, I think you will enjoy Harley Quinn as well too, particularly if you grew up with it or anything like that. Grew up with Batman, that is. Still a great show, still a great universe. Enjoying it. This is season 3. I'm sorry. Season 2 was already out. Harley Quinn season 3, I believe, is what this is. Yeah, it's great. Watch it. HBO Max. I also got to Rising of the Shield Hero season 2. That is an anime. Yes.
Is that season 2 new?
Yes, yeah. It started maybe 2 or 3 months ago now, but they're starting to do it in English as well too, which is what.
Dub.
Yeah. Well,
Speaking of anime and dubs, where are you at with Attack on Titan season 4?
I have not watched any Attack on Titan.
Ty, you
season
started
3,
it, right?
I think.
See.
Where are you at?
I don't know exactly. Wherever they stopped dubbing.
Okay, I think they should be all.
I think
up
on
by now,
Hulu or something like that. Maybe they put them all up by now, but
Just wondering, didn't know.
Yeah. I need to watch Attack on Titan again, but Rising of the Shield Hero, pretty good. Definitely, like, all right, so this is another one of those things that you get into in anime where you're just like start to recognize genres, and like 5 minutes into this one, I was like, oh, this is a harem anime, which is just, one main character that just assembles a bunch of girls around him who are all kind of in love with him. And I'm like, this genuinely makes me uncomfortable in some bits.
Yeah.
And in other areas, I'm like, it's a different culture. Whatever. It's still pretty good.
I've seen like the first like 3 episodes, and then recently my friends were watching it, and it was like season 1 episode like 19 or something like that, and then I know exactly what you're talking about. Where I'm just like, what the hell did this show become? This is not at all what I remember watching in the first 3 episodes.
Yeah. Always weird. Always a bit that you have to kind of like
Just different.
take on board. Yeah.
I can't even say like it's just a different culture and place.
Yeah.
So you kind of just accept it.
Yep. Which, speaking of which, bit of sizzle, we have an anime movie on the schedule, but we don't know what it's going to be yet.
On the docket.
Yeah,
That's way a ways though. It's
a ways. It's a bit of sizzle, not too much of a sizzle.
We just turned on the stove. It's not even to a point where it
Starting
can sizzle
to simmer.
yet. Yeah, sure. It's a bit of simmer.
But that I watched an anime movie called Belle. Which came out earlier this year, I want to say. But it's by the same guy that did Summer Wars and Mirai, which are 2 movies that I very much enjoyed.
Yeah.
This is his new movie, his most recent movie, that is like simultaneously a retelling of Beauty and the Beast, while also like he often deals with like internet culture and like the idea of like social media and like what that means and everything like that. So definitely a big sprawling story. Don't know if I connected with all of it, but he definitely starts a bunch of different threads and tries to bring them back together in a similar way to kind of the Your Names and Weathering with Yous of the world, but maybe not quite as successful. Definitely still worth a watch. Beautiful to look at. Check it out if you can. Yeah, and maybe watch a trailer, see if you like it, and see if you'd enjoy it. And then the last thing I got to this week, which I have watched more of, is the Netflix adaptation of Sandman as well, too, which is
I've heard it's still really good.
Yeah,
good things.
The Neil Gaiman DC comic of the same name from a few years ago. Well, more than a few now. But they've done a Netflix adaptation of it. I think I talked last week. I watched the first episode, watched probably 4 or 5 more now as well, and it's good. It's fun. Yeah. I would say I feel like some of like Gaiman's, not whimsy. What's the word I'm looking for? Like style maybe is lost a little bit in the translation between comics and TV show, but I think this has become kind of one of the most accurate in terms of kind of setting tone and being as close to the source material as it can. So as a Netflix adaptation, I haven't been this excited about something for a while, and I've really been enjoying it. So again, watch the trailer, tell me what people think, and if you think you'd like it, probably check it out. And with that, I'll kick it on over to Adam for what you've been watching.
Cool. Only a couple things. I've been watching a show on Netflix called How to Change Your Mind.
Interesting.
It's a sort of a book adaptation. So the author of the book, what it's about is it's about how like recently in the past 10 years or so, there have been more and more approved studies to have psychedelics be used to treat mental health issues.
Sure.
And so he wrote a book about it. He's a journalist who wrote a book about it, and he's like in his 60s. He's like, I've eventually just kind of wanted to explore this topic, and then the more I explored it, the more I wanted to like try it. And so the book itself, I haven't read it, but the vibe I get is both him explaining how these medicines or how these psychedelics have been used or what the studies just show as how they can be used as a medicine for mental health issues like PTSD or OCD or depression, all this stuff. And then he goes along and tries them and kind of uses his experiences with them as well as like what he's learned in his research of the topic to kind of give this story of how they're being used. And then this show is kind of an adaptation of that. There's 4 episodes. The first one's on LSD. The second one's on psilocybin. The third one is on MDMA. And the fourth one is on one was not familiar with. It was some kind of plant.
Peyote.
It wasn't peyote.
Ayahuasca.
No, it began with like an M. Let me see if I can find it.
DMT.
No, it's
Magnolia.
Let me see. How to change mind.
Let's start with other M words. Monkey.
Melatonin.
It was melatonin.
It was
you know
monkey
what?
melatonin.
Really, yeah, I really go tripping hella hard. Mescaline, which I'm not too familiar with. Mescaline, the psychoactive molecule in San Pedro and peyote. Okay, so that mescaline is what's in peyote.
Well, there you go.
That's what causes the psychedelic. Okay. So this show's kind of, it just goes through
different drugs.
Yeah, everyone, and then but it's not, you say different drugs and it's cool because you get like visualizations and stuff of like what you would see on there, but it really kind of goes through the story of psychedelics and back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s when they first discovered like LSD was kind of the first one that they discovered had these properties. They thought of it as a drug first. They obviously wasn't like a recreational thing until word got around and became more available and people were able to make it and distribute
drug
it.
Isn't like for a treatment rather than like
this
thing trips you out.
Yes, drug. It was a medical drug is what they thought it was going to be and what they thought they could use it as because the people who had tried it.
They're like, hey, man, I feel better, but also I've seen
fantastic. Yeah, well, yes, the first guy who did like 200 times the dosage that you are supposed to take it at. Well, he just didn't know.
Well, yeah,
he took it at a very small amount, which was like it was like 2 grams or something like that. But you're supposed to take LSD in micrograms.
Right, so he was still seeing the fabric of the universe.
Yeah, no, he literally was like, that was the most terrifying experience. Like, it was like incredibly enlightening, but also a very frightening experience. And he was some it was Swiss, maybe? Swiss scientist, something like that. Of course. He's just like, yeah, I remember just trying to ride my bike home, and then I just started tripping absolute balls and like could barely get back.
I like the idea.
He's like, I had to have my lab assistant assist me home or something.
I love the idea though that they are just like having just random drugs. They're like, all right, here, have some. All right, well, see you later. Go bike home.
No. So all these, and that's something you see in these, in the show is all of these trials and everything. It's all in a controlled area. So you have the researcher, the the psychiatrist or psychologist, whatever,
and the psycho.
You have them all in a room. And so it's all in very controlled environments and whatnot. But it's just the results they're finding on these cases. It's insane. Like 2/3 of patients who 2/3 of patients trying to be treated for PTSD after taking, I think it's MDMA, reported like after a year, 2/3 of them reported no symptoms of PTSD.
Because they're tripping.
Well, no, they after one trip, after like one they're tripping, yeah. But after like one treatment of it, it doesn't take much for it to work really. And there's one guy who was living his entire life with OCD, and it was just getting worse as he got older. After one trip on psilocybin, just a year later, had absolutely no symptoms of OCD. Like just day by day, it got better and better and better. Like after the trip.
This is not real medical advice, anyone.
Yeah, obviously,
Allegedly.
obviously, none of this is approved for by the FDA or anything like that. But the show is saying like they're, I think it was on the psilocybin episode or maybe the MDMA one, but some of these drugs could be approved for like medical treatments in the next 10 years, just because like that's how astounding these studies are, which I find incredible because another thing they show is like really what happened was they were changing people's perspectives on things so much that once it got into the public, like the culture was changing, and that was right around the time of the Vietnam War, of course. And so you had people for the first time. I think the line is like, when you went to war, 18-year-olds who were drafted would just go to war. And for the first time, they were saying no. Like, that was a problem for Reagan. So, there was the whole war on drugs. They demonized him. They put up all this fake stuff in the media. The media's perspective on it changed because everyone was like, oh, there's these miracle drugs. Like, oh, this is awesome. And then, like, there was kind of a shift in that, rhetoric towards how they were being viewed. And that kind of has stuck around to this day.
Drugs are crazy, but they're making pacifists.
Yeah, basically. And it's kind of stuck around to this day where I feel like even now it's still a taboo topic. But I really, after watching this, I hope that changes. So yeah, that's been interesting. I would recommend, if you're interested in kind of how that stuff works, or if anything I talked about with, because it's crazy how it seems like it just treats almost everything. What they're also discovering is like these mental health issues. They like OCD, PTSD, depression, like. One drug is solving all of these issues, and they're like, how is it that all these different mental health issues, there's one solution to all of them? And it's like, well, maybe they're all kind of the part of the same root issue in the brain. And so they're kind of discovering more about that and both the psychology and physiology of how that kind of works based on this research. So
I feel like I want to watch it now because, like, the part of me is just like, yeah, they're zonked out of their gourd, of course. Like, you're not gonna be like, yeah, my PTSD went away because I am flying in the clouds.
No, see, I can tell you're doing a bit, but it's also like it's after they're done with the experiences. It's like a year out, and they've only done it once or twice, and like it's curing these people, and they're giving it to cancer patients who are stage 4 cancer, like they almost have imminent death, but like their fear of death and their anxiety just almost vanishes. Like they feel way more at peace and stuff like that. So it's just fascinating to hear like something like that can work out. So I'm just interested to see where that goes. The other thing I watched, a little bit different, we went back and with Papa Schwartz saw Bullet Train.
Hey,
again.
What up, Papa Schwartz?
Big fan, Papa Schwartz.
Papa Schwartz, as we talked about, I don't know if it was on pod, needs to come with us to a movie at this
Yes,
point.
we need to put this on the record. Papa Schwartz is invited to the movies.
Anytime
I told him.
It's got an open invite.
Yeah, okay. Hopefully this encourages him to hear it firsthand from you, Nathaniel, that it's okay for him to come. Anyway, he loved it. He was a big fan. His immediate interpretation was how Tarantino it was, which I was, because I knew it was David Leitch who did Deadpool 2. I was leaning more towards the Deadpool side of things, but then when he says Tarantino, I'm like, oh, okay. I can't and we mentioned Kill Bill on the review last week.
Yeah.
But I feel like I just was separating the Kill Bill part from the Tarantino part. But yeah, the movie is very Tarantino in its upfrontness and abruptness and gore and whatnot. So yeah, I could see that. But it was a lot of fun on the second viewing. I wouldn't say it was better, but it was like just as fun the first time, especially since I was bought in right away. I didn't have to buy in like I was saying last episode. Something I noticed on the second viewing that I don't think we really brought up much, but the sound design and sound mixing and like soundtrack in that movie is incredible. Like I was listening a lot more to like what was being played the whole time, and I was just having a great time. Like both just the songs they were playing, because they do a few like Japanese riffs, and then just even like the sound effects or just underlying score. Like there's a lot of good sound in that movie that I don't think we touched on last week, and that adds to it quite a bit. So props for that. All right, that's all I got to. Ty, did you go?
I sure haven't.
Go ahead then, sir.
I think I got around to, pretty decent amount. Most of these are movies. Some of them are like a one-nighter thing. Some
I love
of them
movies.
are like a 3-day kind of thing.
We should start a podcast.
But one movie I got to was Batman: Dark Knight Rises.
Okay.
And in my notes on my phone, it's autocorrected to Dark Knife Rises. So
The Dark Knife.
So that wasn't bad. It's always good to see Bane, and it's just like we were talking about quotes earlier, and just one of those things that you just always go back to with your voice. And do you feel in charge?
Do you feel in
He like
charge?
race. He rests the back of his palm. It was like such an empowering move. Yeah.
That is a great bit that I feel like is underrated in that movie. That I don't know.
So underrated.
Oh, yeah.
It's like gained popularity, particularly amongst us, but I don't know anyone else out there that quotes it as much as we do. But yeah, you're right. The bit where he like puts just his hand on the
Yeah,
guy's shoulder.
the back of his hand on his shoulder. Yeah,
Just like dads him.
It's such a weird,
That's exactly what it is.
It's such a
sunning him.
it's a weird like power move that I don't know if I'd ever seen really like drawn out before. I'd never seen that move before except in that
For sure.
movie, you know?
It was great. So Carolee and I have had this thing where we've been watching Oceans.
As in Ocean's 11?
As in,
Ocean's movies or in
You, like, go to the
movies,
sea, or-
series.
Oh.
And so we started obviously at 11, 12, 13,
Yeah.
and then 8.
I've never seen 8. Is it good?
So it's not like terrible, but there were only a few things that really tied it back to like the original Oceans where I was like, all right, that's cool.
Okay.
But it's like very small, and it doesn't really happen until like the end. But so like this could be a movie by itself, and you would never know that it's tied
Gotcha,
to this
okay.
unless they do this like very small things that tells you it's tied to it.
Well, it did come out like 10 years later, right?
Yeah. So
Worth it though?
11, 12, and 13 are fucking great.
Yeah, they're amazing. I love
Yeah.
11 and 13. 12's always the one where people are like, I either hate this or this is amazing. I feel like it's like
Yeah.
kind of gone the other way over the years where people are more like on board with it. But I remember when 12 came out, everyone was like, this is dog shit compared to the other ones.
I'm almost positive one of those movies has some scenes filmed out here in Park Ridge. I could be completely wrong, but I could have sworn I came across that a few years back, and I was just like, oh, that's such an interesting fact.
That'd be cool as fuck.
Yeah.
So yeah, 8. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I was talking a lot of shit. And Carolee had me, do my little rating, and so it's not the worst movie in the world, but it's definitely not the best.
what a
So.
resounding endorsement from Tyler.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say.
Yeah,
Really feel the emotion
Yeah, I
behind that.
do. Yeah.
yeah. You guys can have that one. I got to another movie that was definitely on the smaller side of things. It's called Code 8. It's by the ML brothers.
Didn't you watch it a
but
couple years ago?
Yeah. It's on a super small scale, super small budget, but I thoroughly enjoyed it when it first came out, and it's just on my scrolled past, and I was actually finishing it up right before we started recording this, so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna throw it on there. So good movie. It's about superpowers and kind of how they would exist in like the real world again. So just kind of playing on that a little bit, but it's good. I like it, and I like the ML brothers. So another movie I got around to was a war kind of esque military movie, and that's 13 Hours with John Krasinski,
Ah, yes. How was
which
that?
I like a lot.
Yeah. Is that Michael Bay?
I've
right?
seen it before.
Isn't that Michael
But
Bay?
what?
Michael Bay directed
I don't know.
or produced?
Maybe.
I think it was. I don't remember.
Sure. But yeah, that's always one I like. I like John Krasinski. And anytime you get an idea of, what was going on in like the early mid 2000s, in Iraq and like all these other places like Benghazi and stuff like that, it's pretty wild. So, and this is based off of true events. So, but you know what that means. It's just loosely, could be loose. And then the big thing that we got around to was a Peacock series, which I know sounds weird, but it's a series called Dr. Death. And it's about this doctor who is operating for quite some time and had like 33 botched surgeries until 2 other doctors basically decided to like try and see what they could do to like fucking fix this, because this dude quite literally killed people.
I've heard of this. What streaming service did you say it was on?
Peacock. Yeah, little out of the realm there for most people. But I actually really liked it. I think it was like 8 episodes. They're all about an hour, and it's just been like mine and Leah's like little dinner movie or dinner show. You know, something we know we could put on, and it actually held me intrigued the whole way through. So I was very curious. It was very well written, very well acted. I liked it a lot. So huge recommend.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Other than that, the occasional streaming, hanging out, stuff like that. But yeah. Did everybody go?
I think so.
I believe
Yes,
so.
sir.
That means it's time for the main review segment here at Back Row Banter. Nathaniel, if the listener here is new, or maybe they've just forgotten, can you give them a rundown of how the review segment works?
What up, folks? If you are new, or perhaps you've just forgotten, the way the review segment works here at Back Row Banter is it's split into 2 sections. There's the non-spoiler section, and then there is the spoiler section. It's pretty self-explanatory. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go over the IMDb page, you know, who's in it, who wrote it, who directed it, all that good stuff. The summary as well, too. And then we'll all go around, decide if we recommend this movie. It's got to be a yes or no answer. There is no nuance on the internet. And then from then on, it'll be spoiler time. So I'll play the spoiler noise. You'll know not to come into the spoiler section if you don't want to have things spoiled for you. But even if you do come back, because we're going to rank it up on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast ranked. And in the spoiler section, we'll go into our deeper thoughts. With that being said, Adam, tell me about Bodies.
I would love to. This is a new film, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour and 34 minutes, short and sweet, just how we like our horror movies for the most part, especially ones like this. They don't need much longer. And an IMDb rating of 6.7 out of 10. Directed by Helena Ryan.
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah. Written by Sarah man, you're killing me today. Sarah DeLapp and Kristen Rupenian. I don't know. These are hard names. Hard names this week. The cast includes it's a decent one, and there's, now that I'm looking at their IMDb's, I recognize a lot more of them after looking at them. So Amandla Stenberg.
Yep.
Do you guys recognize her? Because we all should.
Rue from Hunger Games?
Rue from Hunger Games.
Yeah.
I did not know that until looking at her IMDb. But that
I've never seen a Hunger Games movies, fellas.
Okay.
Whoa. That's crazy.
That's
I know.
fair. But yeah, I mean, I haven't seen her, and she's in The Hate U Give, which was on the new streaming list. So
those movies got to be what, 10 plus years old?
2011,
I want to say.
No, 20. No, it was 2013 was the first one, I believe.
Was it
No,
really?
2012 was the first one, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm almost positive that's the first one. But yeah, and then Maria Bakalova is making her return to the entry list. Do you guys recognize her?
Borat 2.
I did.
Borat 2. Yep.
Yep.
I did not recognize her either. I was like, oh, okay. And then Rachel Sennott, I don't know. She was not in anything recognizable. Chase Sui Wonders. Pete Davidson makes his return. All the way from episode 1. He's back.
He's
Took
back.
him 114 episodes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he's back. And
I
then,
forgot he was only on episode 1. I knew we had him on here, but I wouldn't have assumed that it was 1 to, what are we at, 116 or something now?
114, yeah. And then Mahala Harold and Lee Pace makes his return to the entry list in a way. Do you recognize him?
Well, I know he's Ronan the Accuser, but I don't know.
He is Ronan the Accuser.
What else was he on the entropy list?
Well, Tyler might recognize him from The Hobbit. He's the elf. But, of course, we don't have The Hobbit on the entropy list. You know what he's in on the entropy list? He is Suga from Weathering With You.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's
That's cool.
Kasuke Suga, who is like the adult figure, adult man.
Great
figure in that
voice.
film. Yeah, great voice, yeah. And seeing him act, he is like the male... in real life, that is, or at least in this movie, he looks like how I'd imagine Suga looking in real life. Like just kind of older man, kind of like really chill, relaxed with the long hair. Kind of like, tall, scraggly beard. So, he returns. And I think we'll end there. That's kind of the main cast. The small cast, what, 7, 6?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
It's a small film.
Small film. thoughts here. Oh, IMDb summary. We got to do that first. The IMDb summary reads as follows. When a group of rich 20-somethings plan a hurricane party at a remote family mansion, a party game turns deadly in this fresh and funny look at backstabbing fake friends and one party gone very, very wrong.
Thoughts?
That's pretty good. That's a pretty good summary.
All right.
It was pretty fun. It sets it up for some suspense, I guess. It kind of tells you what you need to know. Fill it in a little bit, I guess. Yeah, this is a Gen Z film first and foremost. It's all Gen Zers, pretty much everyone around my age, from what I gather. Or if not, like a tad bit younger is what they're supposed to be. Pete Davidson, of course, what is he, 28, 29, 30 even?
Somewhere in there.
Somewhere in there. But he's playing like a 20-year-old, so I don't know. He passes just barely, And then, yeah, so they're having a sleepover getaway party during a hurricane, because that's a great idea, is to just lock yourself in a remote location during a hurricane.
I mean, I think that's what we all do, right?
I think
That's a natural response.
I do think that's common, though, if you do live in those areas.
You think?
I don't know, but I would assume so. That sounds like something a dumb teenage group of young
would do.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. That sounds like some dumb shit my generation would come up with.
For sure. What else will we end up doing? Get some booze and
yeah, I guess.
sit back,
That's not what I would be doing in that situation, but I guess
Fair
I've never
enough.
been in a hurricane, and I've never had access to a remote mansion as such. So anyway, yeah, that's kind of it. And then they obviously, as the description reads, things go terribly wrong.
Boy, do they.
Boy, do they. All right, let's get into the non-spoiler thoughts here. Nathaniel,
Yes, Adam.
we saw this together with
We
Blake,
did.
of course, and Waz.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the three of us had moderate expectations going in. I think I said to Blake before, because Blake and I were working together and we went and got food before, and then we drove to the theater. I think, Blake, what did we decide? It couldn't be any better than X, but it couldn't be any worse than Antlers. I think
Antlers, yeah.
Yeah, we
for
said
sure.
it was going to land right in between there, and I think it did. It's definitely not as good as X, and I don't think it's as bad as Antlers, personally. I think it landed right exactly where we thought it was going to be for me.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit different than you guys in that I don't know if I actually saw a trailer for this.
Really?
Or if
Okay.
I
Well, it was before one of the movies we saw for Pod, I think.
Was it?
That's
Maybe.
the only trailer I saw. I
Same.
believe it was for Men.
Yes,
Okay.
that sounds right.
I'm almost positive.
Yeah, because I remember you turned to me like, "Oh, I really want to see this movie."
I want to see that. Yeah, so I think it had to be Men.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever actually saw that trailer or anything like that. But yeah,
Sure.
so I went into this mostly blind, I
Yeah.
will say. And yeah, I guess my thoughts on this are pretty mixed. I think it's definitely, as you said, it is that Gen Z stuff, and it's the first time I've been to a film where I just went, oh yeah, this is not for me. Like this is not it just isn't my generation. Like it really isn't, and it was a very strong kind of brick wall. I don't think everyone will have that kind of response to it, but I think that it will be a probably pretty firm divide. I imagine maybe Tyler might fall into kind of the same realm with me on this one, but where I just I watched it and I just went, oh, I wonder if there's a lot of movies that I saw in my early 20s that I just really connected with, that people, maybe the immediate age group above me, did not in that sense, because I found myself having a little bit of a hard time into this movie in certain areas, particularly I think in just how old the actors were at any given time. I had a tough time determining what age group everyone was supposed to be in, and and I think that's part of with the Pete Davidson mixed with the Amanda, I want to make sure that's correct, Amanda Stenberg, and being okay, are you supposed to be the same age? You're supposed to be around the same age, because obviously I've seen Pete Davidson in more stuff, and in my mind Amanda Stenberg is still Rue. Where she's 12. So I think that was a little bit kind of a bridge I needed to cross. And then in some ways too, I just the sound editing I thought was a little bit hard for me.
Yeah,
you and I talked about this, where like it was hard for me to pick up on every now and then what characters were saying, and that just again made me feel older as well too. Where I was just like, I can't hear what anyone's saying all the time. Am I too old now? But overall, I think I came in pretty kind of firmly in the middle, maybe a little bit more positive than negative. If you were forcing me to break it down to recommend, not recommend, I think I still fall into the recommend camp on this, but it's something that I wasn't like ever blown away, caught off guard, felt like was this huge leap forward kind of thing.
Yeah, this movie is not groundbreaking in any way, in my opinion. I will say, though, that generational thing is... Obviously, I didn't relate to that because this is my generation.
Yeah.
These kids, the age that I gathered was like, oh, they seem college age. I'm college aged. Like they seem either fresh out of high school or very early college, around there. But that being said, I was like, I still felt like they did a good job of like, and it's interesting you said that because I thought they were still doing a good job of like, even though this isn't your generation, that you could still like get that this is how this generation operates and see that almost. Like
yes.
For me, this was all very familiar, the way they were talking and interacting and the whole social media thing and all that stuff. That was all very familiar to me, and I was kind of happy for that because I was like, oh, like someone outside of my generation can see this and see how that's kind of how some friend groups operate.
Yeah, I would say that overall, but then in like the back of my mind was always like, well, Lee Pace is 40. Like, you know,
that was an odd choice to have him in there.
Yeah, and that was just like kind of butting up against it, where I was just like, Lee Pace is 40. I don't know if that girl's 16. I don't know if that girl's 22. You know, like I can't tell at this point.
Sure.
And then on my mind, I was like, well, and I think Pete Davidson's like 33. Like,
okay, I'm looking at the ages. They're all like between 22 and like Pete Davidson's 27 or 20.
Okay, well, fuck. And then I'm just completely...
he's 28 or 29. He's 93.
Okay, so, that's a year younger than me then. So he'd be like 28. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 28, 29. So yeah, I guess like, again, I'm kind of wrong on those, but again, it's just like, it kind of hit that point where I was just like, I don't think I'm who this is for, and I'm having a hard time accessing it in some ways. But yeah, hopefully I'll have like, yes, I don't know, man. I don't know how to feel about this movie. Someone else talk. Someone else give their own thoughts, and maybe mine will become more solidified. Maybe as we kind of decide a little bit more here.
Yeah, I guess I'll jump into it. Like I said, this is when I saw the teaser trailer when we were watching Min. I turned to Adam, was like, hey, you know what? I think that's something that I'd want to watch just from being a huge horror guy. And so I went into this relatively blind, though. I didn't watch like the additional trailers or anything of that nature, right? So I just kind of went in knowing that it was going to be like a satire or like a dark comedy. And for the most part, it met my expectations, right? Like I didn't expect this movie to be anything other than what was displayed to me. So, and I'm completely on board with that. That's what I signed up for. It's certainly, I'm not in that demographic. I am young, Nathaniel and Ty, so I guess I'd say I'm like just above that demographic. But I can see it. I can't necessarily relate to it directly. But overall, I would say I liked it, especially compared to a lot of the other like original horror content we get out here sometimes, or even just wanting original ideas. It's like, you know what? Let's just get some stuff out here, and I support it. It was funny, had some good gore. Those are the two things I signed up for when I watched the movie, and it gave them both to me. So I'm gonna recommend.
Yeah, it's definitely funny. There were quite a few times that we were all laughing out loud.
For sure.
And I think it wasn't like one character that was funny. It wasn't like one kind of, trope that that was funny that they kept going throughout the movie. Like just consistently there was like different bits or different jokes or different things said that were humorous, and like that, I think it was just a good variety of humor. It wasn't like one thing they kept going back to, which I think is something a lot of movies, especially horror movies that are trying to be comedies, they can try to can fall into a trap in that sense where they just kind of give you the same thing over and over if they think it's funny. And this had
That
a
being
great
said,
variety.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I do think Alice, Rachel Sennott, I believe that's how we're gonna pronounce her last name. I do think she's the funniest character though. She's pretty much funny every time she's on screen.
Yeah, she is.
So yeah, I got to give her the crown for that one.
She almost, wouldn't say she stole the movie, but she was a highlight for me for sure.
Here's my question that I kept coming back to on this: is this supposed to be your generation's Scream?
No,
I don't think
not.
Because I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't think
it's
I
not.
can see how you can advertise it as that kind of, but in my opinion, they're totally different movies.
Yeah, they're not. I
guess I'm speaking to the fact of like in terms of like the tone and having it be that kind of like nod and a wink to all of the tropes that had kind of come before it, and then trying to tell the movie in this like subversive take on it, on those tropes and everything like that, rather than in terms of like a quality kind of like call or anything like that, or a quality kind of like slasher or anything. Is it supposed to just like be building on that and wanting to like say like, yeah, we're smarter than the movies you've seen before as well too?
To me, Scream is more what you're saying, where it's a commentary on the horror films that come before it.
For sure.
This to me is not, as I'm watching it, was not a commentary on any kind of horror tropes, as it was more a commentary on Gen Z's being fucking stupid. Like there's so many
for
good,
lack of a better word. Yes.
Yeah, there's so many scathing criticisms of my generation in this film, and that's my main takeaway from it. Not necessarily the horror tropes that they kind of subvert. And I don't think the purpose was to try and be a Scream. I think it was to try to make fun of Gen Z a little bit.
All right, I want to hear more of these scathing criticisms in the spoiler section.
Yeah.
All right,
let Ty share how he feels though.
As the boomer, residential boomer, Tyler.
Yeah, as the residential old guy.
Calling Ty a boomer is nuts.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's funny.
I don't think I had any problem like connecting with this. I think I just, I went into this relatively
Ty's
blind,
young at heart.
other than the one trailer that we saw, and I guess I was expecting more of a horror, and then it kind of tried to be funny, and then like it just wasn't suspenseful at all. And then I was like, okay, so I don't know if this movie really knows what it wants to be. And then at the end, I'm like, this movie's just telling you to fucking, have better friends. Like all these people are just bags of shit.
For sure.
And that's kind of like where I got to kind of towards the end of the movie without going like too crazy into spoilers. But I guess by the time I got to this, it's just more of a question of like asking yourself like, who the fuck are your friends? Right. And that's kind of what I got out of it. I didn't overly care for much of it, and like I said, I don't think that's because it's like a generational thing. I've been there, like I've been at house parties, like where, like wild shit happens. Obviously, nobody's fucking died, but just like crazy shit, and like I've done stupid shit, and so I think I didn't have a problem connecting with it. I think it was just I just didn't really think it knew what it wanted to be. So I kind of had a hard time really kind of telling that story. But overall, I guess the acting's funny. Real quick, I fucking hate Pete Davidson.
I was waiting on you to say that.
Yeah, I've been on that boat for a while, and I just can't buy the fact that he's anywhere close to age in these kids.
I don't know. The makeup they put on him was much better than I anticipated.
To cover his tattoos.
Covering his tattoos, they did a lot to make him actually look much closer to their age than I anticipated, because I was going into this like there's no way they're gonna make him look that age. And when he was on screen, I was like, I can tell you're so much older, but I generally don't know how much of that was me knowing he's older and like looking for it.
For sure.
Right. Because I think that was subconscious there, because I think they do a pretty good job of getting him as close as they could to make him look of age.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So what are you thinking, Ty? Are you thinking of
you can skip this for me. I think there's far superior horror movies that you could introduce into anyone's generation
Wouldn't argue with that.
That is going to be better than this. If this is going to be generalized under horror, which I'm assuming it's going to fall into that just based off of what the overall general premise of the movie is.
We should also say it's not all that scary.
No.
By
it's not.
definition, I think this kind of goes under horror, but it's in the same sense that Scream's scary kind of thing, where it's like, okay, you're watching it, but you're not like that frightened, all that scared.
Sure. So let's jump into spoilers then, right? So we got one non-recommend. Nathaniel, did you say you were recommend? I know you're kind of on the
Yeah. I don't think you have to see this. I don't think I'm going to recommend it.
Good job,
for
brother.
For most people. If someone came up to me on the stream and was like, "Hey, should I check out Bodies, I'd be like, you
pass.
can wait. Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm going to not recommend.
Okay.
My binary is probably no as well, but like it's it's like a streaming service movie. Like this comes to Hulu and you go, "Oh, should I watch it?" I'll be like, yeah, it's 90 minutes. Like it's Friday night, you got nothing else to do. Like sure, but
All right, fellas. Well, I'm guns blazing against all you guys on this spoiler review. So it looks like I'm the only recommend. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's just like this is like such a case by case of whether I'd recommend. So like I said, my binary's no, but if you enjoy just kind of stupid comedy, also if you're my generation, like around here, I feel like you might appreciate a little bit more. It sounds like
Sure.
So there are people who I would recommend this to, but my yes and no is like no, and
I will
just wait for a streaming
I guess
service.
too, like as well going into it, I'd heard there was an A24 movie, and maybe that was also like kind of my thing of like expecting a little bit more horror. Like if someone comes up to me and is like, "Hey, it's an A24 horror movie," I'm like, "All right, this will get under my skin. This will get like at least something in there." And I think that might have changed my opinion on it a little bit, but
let's save that for spoilers. But I do agree with you on the key premise of that statement.
Yeah. So what I'll say is that like, I'm a not recommend, but like, there will be people that like this for sure.
For sure.
Cool. All right, well then let's go ahead and head into spoilers. So if you've not seen Bodies Cubed, and you do not want it spoiled for you, go ahead, check that episode description where you can find the timestamp I've left, where you'll be taken to the ranking of the movie. Hop upon the Entropy list.
Hop upon.
Spoilers.
Shit goes down.
Shit goes down in the dark. Goes down in the dark.
Is that your new song? The new Shit Goes Down song?
It's my new single. I'm making a single with the Vin Diesel.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, produced by Vin Diesel as well. He's doing the engineering and production on it.
Well,
he's very
congrats.
excited about it. Yeah, and also catch me in the new John Wick prequel. Starting both my careers at the same time. It's very exciting.
Good for you.
Got a really good agent. Anyway. What is there spoiler you talk about in this movie? I guess
so. Then, go ahead. I guess it'd be to Nathaniel's point, right? Because I think a lot of people are going in saying like, "Oh, it's A24 movie. We think that it may be the coin term elevated horror, right, or something of that nature." And I think where this movie kind of goes wrong, or where people kind of jump into it wrong, is that this movie's not a slasher. I guess we should just say that. And I think it's almost advertised as it may be a slasher. And I think the movie is way more of like a Who type movie. You know what I mean? Like a what's the term I'm looking for? What's the genre for like the Werewolves Within movie? Like a Who Did It?
A Who Done It? Who Done It?
Yeah, right. So yeah, I think this is more of a movie like that,
like a Clue,
opposed to being like a Clue. Thank you. Opposed to somebody like killer mask stalking these people in a party, right? And I think it may have portrayed that way a little bit with the comedic undertones, and it's just not that. So I think that can kind of be a little off-putting. But once I kind of figured that was the case, I was like, oh, you know what, I'm still okay with that. So, I think overall, honestly, like I said, it was about as advertised, in my opinion, to what it was going to be. But it sounds like you guys have some huge gripes with it. So what are we chatting about, fellas? Who do I got to talk off the edge?
I guess my thing was like, if I'm viewing it and I'm trying to play along and be and kind of say, well, who did this? Who is the killer? What is happening? The reveal of what happens, where it's kind of like, well, they're just all accidents that kind of got out of hand or something, is kind of spoiled with the second murder with
when
B
kills the husband.
Yeah, B
or
kills
not the husband, Jesus Christ.
Lee Pace.
Alice's boyfriend.
Yeah, the Lee Pace character. Greg,
Yeah.
sure.
Thank you.
Where like she hits him over the head with the stuff, and like if you're playing along, you kind of just like are like, all right, well, she's killed him, which means if she's killing everyone else, like she's got to be like away from it or everything, or in a different area and stuff. And immediately, if you're playing along, you kind of start to work out where everyone should be in like a similar thing to like a high tension or something like that. And it just never added up to more than that of like the mystery being like, well, I want to solve who's doing the murders, or I want to be surprised by who's doing the murders. And then at the end, when we find out what is actually happening with the murders, maybe that wasn't as satisfying as I was hoping it was going to be in the end, or as I was hoping for that third act reveal, or that third act kind of twist, the corkscrew, if you will, that tied it all together or anything like that. And I thought what they decided to go with maybe wasn't the most elegant of solutions or anything like that. I don't know. That's where I'm at. Again, if someone can talk me off the ledge, I'm all in for it.
I'll talk you towards the ledge. You got to jump, brother.
Well, that works too. Tell me about it, Tyler.
No, I mean, I don't have like a ton of gripes with this. I just think it's advertised very differently than what it probably should be.
Yeah, for sure.
And I really wanted somebody to be fucking going around and like cutting all their friends up. Like that's what I wanted, and just never got it. And the whole fucking TikTok thing at the end where Pete Davidson just kills himself, like he's just being a fucking idiot. Like that explains like, what they're going for. I'm like, okay, so this is just stupid. And like I said, I think the only thing I really got from this movie is like you should just like really talk to your friends more. Like you really don't know like who your friends are or like how much shit they're talking behind your back, unless they're like your true friends. And I think that's unfortunately something that that generation does have a problem with. They are
Let me tell you,
constantly talking shit behind each other's backs, regardless of whether you're quote unquote friends or not. And keep your friends close and your enemies closer kind of thing is happening quite a bit. Whereas like when you get a little bit older, and I think this is just going to come with age, because like I said, when I was that age, I was obviously pretty fucking stupid too.
Oh, for sure.
I did a lot of shit that I probably shouldn't have.
I agree.
And I probably talked a lot of shit about a lot of people that I thought, like may or may not have been my friends, but like at some point you just don't care anymore. And you know who your friends are. And I think that's where I kind of pulled a little bit more of this movie out of. I didn't really just this should just not be categorized as a horror or a slasher or anything like that. So I think unfortunately this thing's going to catch a lot more flack than it should be because it's miscategorized. But it is what it is.
Yeah. I guess I would say, okay, so like, let me ask you guys, how do you all feel about like the theme of like isolation and being an outcast? So like with B's character, right? I feel like they did that very well, of like, being somewhere where like you don't really know people, you are the outcast. Like she's not from a wealthy background, right? She's not into TikTok and social media, and like that is a very awkward position to be in if you ever been in a position like that and people are like doing things that are very social media influenced and like you're just not the most into it and you're just kind of looking at people like, oh, this is interesting,
100%.
So like they're able to like land that, and I think that was I think that's pretty accurate on how one would feel in that situation.
For me, there are two things that play into that more than just like her being an outcast and like the newbie to the group. It's the fact that she's an immigrant. It's the fact that she's not very wealthy at all. Because those are two things I feel my generation definitely struggles with, where it's like when someone's not from around the people, the same culture as you, it's just like you don't really know how to initiate them into that group, because I don't feel like a lot of us have been exposed to that, and on social media it's even played up more. I feel like where everything you see both in your real life and online is just
it's only the
same
things
culture.
you want to see that interest
exactly
you.
And so when you're introduced to something outside of that, it's just like I don't feel like a lot of people my age are necessarily that not that they're not open to it, but they don't know how to handle it. And the other thing too is like there was the whole financial aspect of this movie where it's just like, oh, your parents are middle class. They both teach at a university. She's like, it's a public university. Like that's
funny,
the
dude.
funniest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Middle class as
and
a racial slur was hilarious.
Exactly, and that's like a racial slur. Exactly, like because that's the most that sums up my generation, where it's just like, oh. Like, I think I have it so worse than everybody, but realistically, like, I am much better off. But you see, you feel so much worse than everybody when you see all of your rich friends or whatever it is doing all these lavish things, when in reality, you're just not seeing what's below you. And it's such an illusion because you feel like you're dirt poor when you're watching everyone else go on these vacations or have these big mansions or whatever it is.
I feel like I would have been more on board with that if they weren't spending so much time tossing up to the viewer on whether or not B was the killer or not.
Sure.
Like I felt like I would have.
Oh, I never thought she
more.
was the killer.
I thought after the second one where she brains Greg with the kettlebell, I was like, well, is this a movie building to the fact that because she is the outcast?
Because she's the outcast, right?
Right,
Sure.
and she's like, she was going to be, like doing either she was someone that Amanda Stedberg's character met in rehab, and then they both decided to go kill the family for like fucking insurance money or something. Like that's where my brain was going with it and that kind of thing. Again, maybe because of that kind of high tension background, I was like, I don't trust anyone in this, and so I'm trying to like kind of figure out everyone else's motivations and things. And I feel like I would have had a little bit more of a better bearing with that had that been a little bit clearer. And I think Waz actually brought up a great point where he was like, if they had just switched the order of the kills with I think it was Chase Sui Moon.
The stairs?
Yeah.
Emma?
Yeah, Emma. If Emma had died second and then have Greg die third, I think that would have
been better.
Yeah, maybe would have pushed that a little bit more, where I'm like, I don't necessarily know if she's the killer or not, but now I want to build a little bit more into kind of her storyline, or like I don't necessarily, I'm not questioning it right out of the gate. Maybe that would have worked a little bit better for me. But yeah, that was kind of my big thing. It was just like I never knew who to identify with if they were going with this kind of more commentary style film. And I never knew where my alliance was supposed to be with, and if I was going to be aligning with them as I'm watching it, if I would be rewarded in the end or get that kind of like last third act twist or anything like that, which again, it didn't really do. So I guess I have to view it as it is what it is in the ultimate sense. But yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I just never leaned into B being the killer. Like I knew it was it could have been anyone else but her. But yeah, there's just like I was saying before, there's just so much that is just making fun of my generation. I felt like, and the probably the best thing in this movie that like really hits home for me is at the end when what the hell is the other one? What's Rue's name again? Sophie. When B and Sophie are at the pool and they're on the ground, and what they're fighting for, there's a quick shot. They're not fighting for the gun. They're fighting for the phone.
Right.
And that's where I was just like, that is such an apt representation of how stupid my generation is and obsessed they are with phones and whatnot, because it's not what's damaging and what's going to kill the other person. I mean, obviously you could literally kill the other person with the phone, but like what's damaging to them, what's more important is if whether or not she sees the text.
For sure.
And that is such a thing that is just incredibly unique to my generation that I don't even feel like you guys could relate to them very much. But I know for a fact is stuff that my generation finds very important and deals with very, very much. And it's such a weird thing to like have grown up with that since middle school, really, where texts and they kept bringing up the group chat. Oh, you never responded in the group chat. You never responded in the group chat. Like shit like that is just so stupidly important to people my age. But
even that, I was like, is there another phone? Like, has someone cloned her phone and is actually responding to the group chat instead of her or something like that? Like, my mind was going into like all these other.
I guess I just was.
That's
maybe that's where the
very
generational thing differs. Is
I guess, yeah.
Just reading into it too much as you're trying to figure out if this is Scream or not, and I'm just like, oh. This is how it works.
Fair enough. Yeah,
you didn't respond in a group chat. Why the fuck are you here?
Well, that's what I'm saying is that like I genuinely don't know if I just didn't connect with this movie because of that generational gap. Which, if that's the case, this is the first movie I've come across, I think, which was really outlined that for me and forced it into the kind of that area of like, well, I'm not sure if I can recommend this movie anymore, or if it's just I'm old and out of touch.
Yeah,
could be either. Could be both. Who knows?
Could be both.
Yeah, there's just so my main enjoyment from this movie was watching all these criticisms. So like I said, the whole outcast or immigrant thing, the part where, and also Ty, you talked about like you don't know who your friends are and whatnot. Like that is also a very real thing in my generation where people just talk mad shit behind each other's backs, and it's very easy. It's very easy to do.
You just get smile fucked all
exactly,
day.
Yeah, and
it's wild.
And it's like this is a very real thing where people just harbor so many resentments, and my generation is just so used to being fake online and not really actually having any thoughts. And that was another great bit. Where it was kind of a serious moment, but I was almost laughing because when Pete Davidson is talking about how the Emma character has no original thoughts and she's just using gaslighting, and later she
that
calls
was pretty funny,
and later she calls the girl toxic and whatnot, and it's just like, wow, that is so true, because so many people in my generation just are gonna read what other people say online and take that as their own opinion and rarely think for themselves sometimes, and it's just so ingrained into how people think nowadays and was what they read online, what they see on social media, and then they just regurgitate or they kind of combine different opinions to kind of formulate one, but instead of actually just giving their own. And like that was such like it was kind of like a serious moment in the movie, but I was fucking laughing because it was just all too real for me.
Yeah, no, I think you hit that on the head too, just in terms of like there's the dialogue they use in this movie, right?
Yeah.
Is like straight from anybody who's spent any amount of time on social media.
Yeah.
Is this dialogue, right? Which to some people is very cringe, and to some people it's like, okay, if you're sold on it, it works,
sure,
right? And I guess I was just able to be sold on it, so I signed up for it, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm with it. But yeah, so I think that can kind of go over the wrong way sometimes on people, but yeah, overall, like I said, this is just it's what I thought it was going to be. Besides, I thought it would be a little bit more of a slasher opposed to a whodunit. Right. And I think that's kind of the huge drawback. So to Tyler's point, I think he said this movie's probably going to end up being mislabeled. And I think it is. But I do think this is going to be something that's probably going to have like an odd cult following in like the next 10 years, just from how relevant it is to society at that said point in time. Right. We're like, this is going to be a movie like, do you want to know what it was like being a teenager in fucking 2020? And then like you can put this movie on, right?
Oh,
yeah,
for like jokes, of course. But
it'll
like
be kind of like a
I
time
think that's
capsule.
what's going to get this thing rolling. I'm sorry.
It'll be like a time capsule movie, you know?
Exactly. Yep, for sure. So I think this is what I think it's going to have a huge cult following in 10, 15 years from now.
Yeah, I could see that happening for sure. I don't know. It's like it's hard to say this was like a good movie, but I did enjoy myself for the most part. Because the movie itself was kind of underwhelming, but I did like it. And even though I didn't recommend it, it's not a movie I don't think people would enjoy. I just don't think this is like something you really need to see. But definitely like one I would recommend going on a streaming service and watching, or this is another one I could like throw on if my friends are over or something like that and just have on in the background. Maybe.
For sure. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Great movie. You got some people around. You guys are drinking a bit, have some booze or whatever. It's definitely a movie that you can just throw on in the background and have it up and catch some laughs every once in a while.
And fairly well acted all the way around, I would say too.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of coming into their roles and each having a very unique personality for like who they are, kind of. Especially what was that actress's name? Rachel Sennott.
Yeah, she's hilarious.
She was great.
But I do think the funniest scene though of the entire movie, we talked about it after we left the theater, me, Nathaniel, Adam, and was just when Lee Pace's character is like, when they first start playing the bodies game, and like they have to fake dead.
Oh yeah.
And then like as a viewer, you're trying to figure out like, okay, like is the movie starting now where this guy's actually dead, or is he just playing the game, right?
Yeah.
So like you're trying to judge that as the viewer, and then the characters are slowly like, oh well, I don't know. I don't know if he's actually dead or if he's playing the game. And then Pete Davidson's character is like, oh, don't worry. Trick always works. And then he taps him on the nuts of the bottle of beer. Then he wakes up.
Yeah,
that was
a great bit. Because
Yeah.
they sold me.
All
I was
four
like,
of
all
us
right, I
laughed
guess
at
we're.
that for it.
Yeah, I know. They
Of
sold
course.
me. I was like, oh, I guess the movie starts here. And then
Me too.
and
I
they
was
fake
sold
you
too,
out.
for
Yeah,
sure.
they fake you out hella hard. There's also some good tension in this movie when they're wrestling over the gun and stuff, and you know, and they're holding the gun and pointing at each other, and then, you know, there are some good scenes where I'm like, oh, like I generally don't know what's about to happen. Yeah, it's a good movie overall, I think.
For sure.
I don't know.
Yeah,
The
wanna
more I
rank
talk
it?
about it, the more I want to like go back and recommend it. But I'm still in the same spot. You don't really necessarily want to go see this.
Yeah.
It's a streaming service movie. If this came straight to Netflix, I'd be like, all right, cool, go see it.
This should have been straight to streaming, and Prey should have been in theaters.
I vote for
I
that.
do agree that Prey should have been in theaters 100%.
Well, maybe we can talk about that more next week.
Yeah.
We good to
Let's
get
rank
on the spoilers?
Bodies cubed.
Bodies cubed.
Bodies cubed.
Welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment of the podcast. We're going to go ahead and throw Bodies Cubed up upon the Entropy list.
Up upon.
For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of every movie we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all on one fantastic list. This is essentially how we rate our movies, rather than do it out of 10, out of 5 stars, whatever it is. We throw up all the movies we review on a list and see how they compare to one another. If you'd like to reference the Entropy list for yourself, you can do so by checking the episode description, where it is linked to my Letterboxd. Bodies.
Man.
What are y'all thinking? Well, Ty said he was already, what did he say? He was between 61 and like 78 or something like that.
Yeah, that was like, those are two complete random numbers. That
Oh,
yeah, no, I didn't actually look at the Entropy list until just now, but I've been scrolling for a minute.
I've got mine.
I am just gonna go. Yeah, I'm just gonna hit it. I'm gonna do 79.
79. So below. Okay. Below The Matrix Resurrections, above Candyman.
Yeah.
Or no, below Lightyear, above The Matrix.
Below Lightyear, yeah. Matrix can go under this.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
Adam?
I am right around there. I think I'm gonna put it probably above. I want to go like 75 or 74, because I don't know. I just don't know if I like this more than Men or not. I think I think I'll do 75. Below Men, above Ghostbusters Afterlife. I just had a way better time with this than I did in Ghostbusters.
Sure.
And there are some movies maybe below that ranking where I'd like, oh, I kind of like this here and there, but none of them I feel strongly enough to be like, oh, I much more prefer this or that. So yeah. And Men, thinking back on it, much more horror-esque, and incredible acting, great, cinematography, whatnot. So like, I think overall I came out of that more positively. But yeah, 75.
I am really in between two, and they're kind of separated by a lot. So maybe the boys will be able to help me out here. Originally, I was kind of along with you guys. I was looking at the Men as well too, as just kind of like a horror movie, another A24 joint, and just kind of around it. Then I saw Candyman down there at 80, and I was kind of like, I think that's kind of more where I like this. And then I saw Trick or Treat, which is resting all the way down there at 89.
Yeah.
And I look at the movies above it, and besides probably Uncharted and maybe King Richard, each one of those movies, if I just like kind of woke up and was in a movie theater and they were on the screen, I would probably keep watching. Whereas like I feel Trick or Treat is the first time where like anything below that, Halloween Kills, Thor, Love and Thunder, Antlers, Wonder Woman, if I woke up in that same movie theater and those were playing, I'd be like, all right, I'm done. I don't need to see this again. And I really feel like Bodies kind of falls more into that realm. So I think I'm going to put this at 90. I'm going to put it below Trick or Treat, above Halloween Kills, and
Fair.
have it there overall, purely from that standpoint of if I woke up and I'm in a movie theater and this is playing, do I watch this or do I not? And I think this one rests right above that, where I'm kind of like, it could go either way. But anything below Halloween Kills, I'm probably dipping out after I wake up. So, yeah, 90 for me.
Yeah. Yeah, this one's tough for me. I'm kind of looking here, and the first thing I went to find was X. So I saw X at 54. Sure. Then I'm like, okay, I don't think it's better than X, right? So then from there, I just kind of started weeding down. And then I saw Scream 5. Okay. And I was like, okay, how do I feel about this compared to Scream 5? Just because, like we said, they're kind of different, right? But there are some similarities. But then I was like, well, Scream 5 gave me a Hereditary reference. So sure. I do like that. And Scream 5 also gave it's like, well, Jordan Peele fucking rocks. They have that line in that movie too. Sure. So I was like, all right, I can't put this above those. And then I saw like Insidious at 69. And I was like, Insidious is awesome. I do think it's a modern classic, but I do think it's like a little more of like a child's horror movie to me, right? Opposed to like something that I like ultimately really find like creepy and gets under my skin. So then I was like, okay, I think I like this more than Insidious. But then I saw The Descent at 72, and I was like, there's no way I'm possibly putting this.
I was going to say, if anybody was going to say anything north of 72, I was just going to say I have two words for you, and they are The Descent.
So yeah. That was like I was going through my thought process, and then I saw The Descent 70, and that's way too low on this list. And I just cannot. I like this movie, but I love The Descent, so I can't put this movie above The Descent on this list. So that means I'm gonna have to let this thing rip at. I'll let it rip at 73.
So above Blind Spotting, below Descent.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I can go lower. The only reason the only reason I don't think about Trick or Treat is because it's so ungratefully far down for me.
It's true.
I know it's not like a true gatekeeper for me anymore.
Yeah. So that's how I almost felt about The Descent, to be honest with you. I was like, man, that's so low. Because I want to put this elsewhere, but like my pride is I can't do this.
Yeah, see, my pride doesn't hurt if I bury this thing. I just don't look at Trick or Treat. I'm gonna stay where I'm at because that was where my original gut feeling was. But yeah, well, even once Nathaniel had to bring up Trick or Treat, I had to say my 2 cents because everyone knows that I'm a for Trick or Treat person, and I want it's on pod officially. I've said it many times. I'll say it again.
Should we watch Trick or Treat? Sorry. Yeah.
Trick or Treat is too fucking far down.
You say 73, Blake?
Trick or Treat and The Descent is like fucking criminal, and Eternals. Fellas, like, just to be honest with you all, but we've got the ranking, so what does it come out as?
Blake, you said 73?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, I lost it. 73, 70. I was 75. Tyler was 79, and Nathaniel was 90.
Yeah, drop that motherfucker.
Gives it a 79.25, which means we tie break with The Matrix.
This one's got to be rated higher than The Matrix. The Matrix probably rated pretty bad, I would assume.
Can't imagine it did, yeah.
Matrix at least has a following.
Yeah.
Which could shoot it in the foot.
Bad. Yeah, that movie's bad though. that thing can't be rated higher than like 6.5.
I fucking hated that movie.
I'm still trying to pull it up. Oh, I just locked myself out of my laptop. Cool. Resurrection. Row. My computer just refuses to work now. Nathaniel, can you pull it up?
For what one did you need? 73?
The Matrix.
Oh, The Matrix Resurrections?
Yeah.
Give me a second.
I got you right here. It's a 5.7. That's really bad.
5.7.
Yeah.
Whereas Bodies is a 6.7.
6.7. Yeah.
That's so funny. Do you realize how
Alright.
much work you have to put into something to make it lower than a 6?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's like, I didn't expect it was going to be that low, but that's
Fuck.
low.
All right, well, there you have it.
The
79.
first one's a fucking 8.5.
How the mighty have
Crazy.
fallen.
What are they at? Speaking of movie quotes, is that The Dark Knight where you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain?
Yep,
That's like
it's,
the perfect character arc of like the Matrix movies.
That's Alfred.
Fucking end it at the first one. You'll die a hero.
Jesus. All right, well, Bodies Cubed, locked in at 79, below light year, above the Matrix Resurrections. That's going to do it for the review segment here for Bodies Cubed. Next week's review segment, we're taking a bit of a break from our regular scheduling. We're going to do a double ep in different context. Double movie ep. One ep, 2 movies.
What?
What? We're going to do a little Predator and Prey double feature here. So the original Predator, what year is that?
80-something.
87? 1990. Wait, no, 1987. 1987, sorry.
Say.
Predator 2 is 1990. Predator, the original, which is currently streaming on Hulu. So go watch that. And then we're going to do a little compare and contrast, I guess, to Prey, the new film, also on Hulu. So you don't even have to move streaming apps to go watch it. Just, sit
Easy
back,
enough.
grab your remote, and you don't even have to move for a solid, 4 or 5 hours?
Just do a double feature.
This is like a solid day off, early morning wake up. Get up at 7:30, so then you're ready to go by 8. Plug the first one in immediately after. Maybe get breakfast or something. Do what you gotta do, a cup of coffee. But immediately after, put fucking Prey on.
Yep.
And then you're done by 11:30. You got your whole day ahead of you.
The whole day.
There you go.
Just my recommendation.
A back row banter first.
Back Row Banter rack. All right. Well, yeah, go watch those movies and then report back next week where we'll be doing a little fun double ep. Nathaniel. Do
Yes,
you have
sir.
a 5-star review?
Do not have a 5-star review, but if you want to give us a 5-star review, we will review it. Well, we won't review it, but we'll read it out on the podcast.
We'll review your review.
Yeah. We'll read it on the podcast. Could be funny, could be nice, could be mean, could be amazing. Just don't be evil. And as long as it's cool, we'll read it on the podcast. With that being said, Adam, want to get us on out of here?
Yeah, Gmail won't load, so I can't check our email. My laptop.
Uh-oh. Falling apart.
This happened before I left for DC. Never happened a single time while in DC, and now it's happening again. I don't know. Maybe it's the VPN.
Could be.
Who knows? Anyway, if you want to send us an email, I'll check it next week for you. Send it to backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. Share the podcast. Share with a friend, a family member, maybe a fake friend, or 2, or 3, or 4, or 5, or maybe their corpse. And then you can follow the show on Twitter at BanterRow, on Instagram at BackRowBanterPod, and on YouTube, we're just Back Row Banter. For all of your listening / viewing pleasure, I make a graphic for every episode, so I guess there's something to look at. But it's a very static image. It doesn't move. We'll work on video. We'll get there one day. Blake, where can the people find you at, my man?
Yo, Letterboxd, BlakeHolder. I'll be on there logging some things, rating movies out of 5 stars. Fun fact, I think I gave Bodies a 3, maybe 3.5. Not entirely sure. But Letterboxd, where you can find me, BlakeHolder. That's all I got. Let's pass it to Nathaniel.
You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at @NSGingrich. You can find me on Instagram at NathanielG92. Other podcasts, Sandpiper Tapes. Tyler, tell me where they can find you.
Twitch.tv/El Trabajo87. We do stream. We do have fun, for the most part. And Twitter, Letterboxd, and Instagram, all Tyler Vidales, VIDALES. Adam.
I'm on Twitter at Aish24 and on Letterboxd at Aish, and soon be back on Twitch at twitch.tv/Aish as soon as I get my apartment up and running. I'm not going to have time to play or stream until I get back in Colombia, so sometime next week maybe. Find out. Stay tuned. That's it for episode 114, Bodies Cubed, if you will. Join us next week for our review of Predator and Prey. Thank you all for listening, especially if you made it this far. We'll BRB.
Be excellent to each other, everyone, and we will BRB.
Thanks for coming by, hanging out with us, and just, help us grow. We appreciate you being here, appreciate the word of mouth, and it's something we truly care about. But other than that, be good to one another. You never know where they're at in your journey, in your day, so we'll BRB.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for the support as always. We appreciate it. We would not be able to continue this podcast without you. As we always say, as long as you're at least doing one thing you love every day, then I would say you're living the right way. BRB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
3 seconds.
So what do you guys think is your most quoted movie quote, if I'm wording that sentence correctly?
Like, okay, so like what?
Like the one you go to?
Yeah, what do you quote the most? Just in everyday life, conversations, text, whatever.
I feel like one of the weird ones is "Must Go Faster," or from Jurassic Park. Yeah, "Must Go Faster," or "Stay on Target." I feel like that's always in my head too from the original Star Wars.
Sure.
I don't see, the thing is, I'm not great with names and I'm not great with movie quotes. So I don't quote that often, so it's hard for me to think of what I would quote the most, because I do occasionally. But I feel like other people do it way more because I just don't remember them that well. But like famous ones, I don't know, I do anytime someone says tempo, what comes to my head, of course, is
Not my tempo.
Not my tempo.
Yeah. Whiplash.
Yeah.
I feel like there's famous quotes that are from movies that everyone recognizes, like "Luke, I am your father," or whatever it's gonna be, or
sure,
or
but
"No,
you
I
can't
am
use
your
that in
father."
everyday context.
Right. So I always end up with random ass quotes from just stuff that stick into my head every now and then.
Sure.
Orlando Bloom in Pirates of the Caribbean screaming Elizabeth, that will always be in my head.
Yeah,
too.
it's random stuff like that.
Yeah.
that just comes to me. If someone says something offhand, and then it links me to a movie because I'll remember it, but I don't go around quoting movies that much.
What was it that Blake said that started off this whole thing? That was because I feel like that's one. Oh, I'm feeling woozy here. Yeah, that's always
I'm feeling woozy here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you hit me with a phone, you dick? That will always be in there for a second.
For sure. For sure. Pretty much Scream just in general.
Yeah,
anytime it's a bad decision,
Scream.
just the peer pressure. I'm far too sensitive. That's an easy one to get off.
Tyler and I feel like have
Superbad's the easy one to get off.
Yeah.
The
people don't forget. Yeah, that's definitely worked its way into the culture.
I do a lot of Back to the Future quotes here and there.
Great Scott.
A great Scott, but that's not easy to quote, But it's there's one that I always quote from there. Someone says something about going back or something like that. I'll be always just in my head. I'll be Marty, we got to go back.
Jurassic Park, when they're in the car and Jeff Goldblum's and now I'm sitting by myself and I'm talking to myself. I think about that one all the
That's
time.
a good one.
Especially when I'm just at work or something, and I'm and I'm sitting by myself and I'm talking to myself.
One that's been in my head recently is I'm thinking I'm back from John Wick.
Is that because you're back on
Halo? Yeah. Every time I get a sick clip, I'm damn.
Yeah, I'm
thinking I'm back. I want to. Whenever I decide, because if if I go to Orlando and find a team and something like that, I think I'm gonna like try to pull a sick clip together or something like that, or maybe put two together and then like overplay that audio or cut that clip.
I get the one from music all the time. Have you, Blake? You probably know, but have you ever listened to Vince Staples?
Yeah, I like Vince Staples.
Adam, have you ever listened to Vince Staples?
I've got a Vince Staples vinyl.
Oh, really? Yeah, his song "Bag Back." There's like a bit where it like breaks down at the end, and it's always just, and it's like something like depth. We found it. 30,000 feet, a deep dive, and like whenever I'm like I'm thinking about like going down like a deep rabbit hole on like a movie or a book or something, I'm always like depth. We found it, a deep dive. Like that's just stuck in my head.
I quote song lyrics I think more than I quote movies.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. I'll never forget when
I
was gonna say, Blake, when you did the when I was in DC and Nathaniel was counting me in, he goes. Nathaniel was like, yeah, and they was like, I'll count you in, and Blake was just like, I love when you count me out.
Yeah. I was gonna say, speaking of Vince Staples, have you ever watched like any Vince Staples interviews?
No. He seems like he's a strange cat.
Hilarious.
Yeah, is he funny?
Yeah, that guy's a character. It's like hard to not like him once you watch an interview of him. You're like, I gotta listen to it.
Even from that song, we need to Nika Zenchanik was in the Oval Office. I think about that all the time too. Like, just a lot of quotable lines from Vince.
For sure, and he's got like a very like heavy Cali accent too. So yeah.
North Side Long Beach, North Side Long Beach.
Yep.
Anything Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, well,
that's very quotable. Even that first one.
You embarrassed me.
It's like
I feel like that's Tyler.
Anytime I like pull up like next to one of my buddies at a stoplight, I roll down my window and I'm like, I used to race back here in high school. Train tracks are exactly a quarter mile away. I'm green. I'm going.
Yeah, they got to your point, Fast and Furious got one in the second one, Too Fast, Too Furious, that Ejecto-Cito cuz.
Ejecto-Cito cup. Dude,
or We Hungry.
Oh yeah.
Anytime I'm playing Halo,
I always imagine like snatching a sandwich out of like somebody's hand. She's like, "We hungry."
Anytime I'm playing Halo and I hijack someone in like a warthog or something, I go Ejecto-Cito cup.
Yeah,
as I'm doing it, it's so much fun.
Dude, that's the second Fast and Furious movie gets shit on so much for like no reason. That movie's so fun.
That bad. It's pretty good. Isn't Tokyo Drift 3?
Yes, sir.
Or 4?
I believe so. Yeah.
I want to rewatch that soon. So good.